To discuss that more, we're joined by Jason Unruhe, political commentator and analyst who is joining us live from Ontario. Thank you very much, Mr. Unruhe, once again for sparing some time for us here on PressTV's World News. Now, what does this tell you about the moral grounds the British are standing on when they say that they will be granting amnesty to personnel who have committed torture more than 10 years ago, promising that despite the fact that this is against the UN regulations?
Well, I think the fact that they're already trying to give amnesty to them seems to indicate that they know they've done something wrong. You can't give amnesty to someone or pardon someone or exempt someone from something unless they actually did it. I think that they're fully aware that crimes were carried out both in Iraq and Afghanistan because basically this is the very nature of imperialist war itself. We're reminded of the old Che Guevara phrase that imperialism turns men into beasts. The perceived right to invade countries and to dictate to others how they should live, how their economies should be organized, who they're allowed to trade with, etc. And that breeds that sense of superiority, that they have some kind of divine or maybe some kind of a self-perceived right to dictate to others how they should live. And that usually manifests itself into the kind of mentality that would make them feel that the people that they were there fighting, or the people that they claim they were there helping, didn't know what was best for them, and that they had essentially a whole concept of superiority, and that the people that they were allegedly helping were inferior. But I think that in terms of the entire human rights issue, the war itself was a crime. Both the Iraq and the Afghan wars were crimes that were carried out against the people of those countries. So to say that there could be no human rights violation in those wars, or war crimes haven't been committed, is simply ridiculous. The occupation of both of those countries have been absolutely terrible and have caused untold devastation to both countries. I believe both Iraq and Afghanistan have suffered over 1.5 million civilian casualties each. We can't believe that somehow all of those people were somehow Iraqi military that were resisting, or somehow Taliban members. I think that it's very clear that various scores, at least 1 million civilians have been killed in each country at the very least. So I believe that with all the reports that have come out, particularly with regards to attacks upon Doctors Without Border bases, which is specifically U.S., but other such incidents like that. There have been numerous reports by the Afghani government of abuses being carried out both by the United States and the U.K. against civilian populations, targeted indiscriminate killings of entire villages, etc. And this has been something that many of us in the anti-war community have been harping on for some time now. We do know these crimes are being carried out, but the fact that Britain would even try to give a pardon or to exempt people from prosecution for committing these crimes essentially is an admission of guilt. They know that they have committed these wrongful acts, and they're trying to protect their own militaries. One, they don't want their own service personnel being worried about liability for their actions, when really they just want them to follow orders and to do what they're told. And second of all, it is carrying any kind of liability for this to maybe potentially owe reparations to the countries that they have devastated previously. But I think the fact that they are trying to look for exemptions and trying to remove themselves from human rights organizations or conventions that have been signed on with the EU speaks volumes about who they are and what these wars were all about.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. Exactly. To top that,